You can block them without them knowing it. Call to order the Wheeling Plan Commission for Thursday, January 26, 2012. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's like I'm talking to myself.
Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Commissioner Burns. Here. Commissioner Dorban.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson gave prior notice that he would not be in attendance. Commissioner Fado, I'm here. Commissioner Schaaf.
Here.
Commissioner Stylen.
Yes.
And Chairman Maloney.
Present. Mr. Jennings, are there any changes to the agenda?
We have two changes this evening. Number one, staff is moving consent item A to items for review to clarify the motion, and then the minutes of January 12th, which is item 7 on the agenda, not distributed yet, so those would be postponed to the February 9th meeting.
Okay. Consent items, which are limited now to docket number SCBA-2512, Crass Medical Center, dental office at 1532 West Lake Cook Road, appearance approval of a wall sign. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Please call the roll.
A motion was made by Commissioner Raffato, seconded by Commissioner Stylen. Commissioner Raffato, I vote yes. Commissioner Stylen.
Yes.
Commissioner Burns.
Yes.
Commissioner Dorban.
Yes.
Commissioner Schaaf.
Yes.
And Chairman Maloney.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd just like to make a comment about the medical center sign. I thought the little smiley face add-on that they made to the sign was really unique and really different, and I think that's the kind of embellishment that we thought of when we thought of adding a graphic to the sign. So I just think that's a great example. Thank you.
Thank you. So there, we're going to take docket number, which was formerly consent A, to docket we'll call it 6 minus A. Mr. Jennings.
Thank you. There was the original staff report for this item had 2 freestanding signs and a wall sign. During the staff review, we had contact with the sign company and determined that the third sign was, the third freestanding sign was also supposed to be included. The commission got the reports for this item, and one of the commissioners sent staff a question regarding the signage, counted the signs, found there are in fact 4 freestanding signs, and just sent a request for clarification. We contacted the business owner and did confirm that all 4 of the freestanding signs are intended to match. The Chevrolet has informed the dealership that all 4 of these signs are supposed to have the blue background, and that is what the request is. So the motion that we have has been updated to reflect that they are all supposed to have the blue background that's shown here.
Any discussion? Do I hear a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Please call the roll.
A motion was made by Commissioner Stylen, seconded by Commissioner Dorban. Commissioner Stylen.
Yes.
Commissioner Dorban.
Yes.
Commissioner Burns.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson's absent. Commissioner Raffato, I vote yes. Commissioner Schaaf.
Yes.
And Chairman Maloney.
Yes. Okay. Calling docket number PC 12-1, Children's Land, 850 McHenry Road, minor appearance approval of building modifications. Mr. Jennings.
If you could come forward, please. The original special use approval for this facility included the building appearance. The construction management company that's working with the petitioner on this item had previously requested consideration of modifications to the facade. We have now the final request, and the petitioner's representatives are here to present that to you.
You have the floor, sir.
Thank you. I'm Carl Anderson, the construction manager. The rendering we have at the front, I don't know, Andrew, if you saw that email I sent, that we're going to keep the approved shutters. So the front is going to remain as you see it. The sides we're proposing for changes. The first, we had a stone wainscot that was going around the two sides in the back of the building. And we've discovered that they have some corners on them, and they might be dangerous for the kids if they fell against the wall. So we're proposing brick, which we have here that'll match the decor. It'll be a lot safer. Second are the windows. We're upgrading the windows and changing them from wood with the grates that were shown in the previously approved drawing to storefront aluminum. They are probably about twice as durable, and we think they're give the building a more professional look. We're also adding a stripe that consists of 8 inches of the blue matching the blue towers, and below that 8 inches of red that would match the red towers. And finally, we have a keystone that we're adding to the top of the doors and the windows. So that'd be 4 items, and that'll be on all 3
So
sides.
the front staying the same.
It is.
Not going to make that proposed change.
Right.
Okay. Any comments from staff?
The plans that they've shown don't have any fire department changes.
Thank you. Commissioner Dorband,
Pardon me?
I'm calling you.
Oh, thank you. Okay, I just want to make sure I understand. Can we go back to the proposed and the new plan picture? Okay. Now, I just want to make sure I understand that the windows, the proposed is going to look as it does here, because there are not a lot of changes, but the brickwork is going to disappear that's there, and you're going to have the...
You know what, Andrew, do you have the side rendering? Okay. Can I give you a better shot of this? I thought this had been somewhat, but this is really...
We can share.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm okay with the side. It's the front, if we could go back again, I'm sorry, Andrew. If you look at the approved and then you looked at the proposed, there is a great deal more white around. I just want to make sure that what we're approving is what we're looking at. And so that the one that's the proposed is this one, correct?
Okay. No. The approved rendering is going, on the front of the building will remain unchanged.
Oh, then why are we, if the approved one is the one up there that we're using, why do we have a proposed one?
Because he
It's
changed
used
his
as-
mind before he got here.
When people send me emails, and they said, I swore I sent you that. And I say, you know, I've had the same thing happen. And I thought George had seen this, and I just found out he hadn't. I thought he was okay with it. He said, no, I like the shutters, so I'm sorry for the mix-up.
Okay, so
that's
what
all.
we are approving is what was originally approved without any changes at all, correct?
For the front remains the
The
same.
picture up here on the top left.
Right.
Is what we are approving.
That's
For the
correct.
front of the building.
At the front of the building, that's,
Right.
that's, just want to make sure about that.
Yep.
Okay, and then the side of the building is changed to this appearance. Do we have a picture of those two?
I have the approved versus proposed elevation drawing. This has
Okay.
got the labels of what's actually changing.
So the top one is the approved, the lower one is the proposed.
Correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure that what we're talking about. Otherwise, I don't believe I have any questions. Okay, that's all I have. I just wanted to make sure I understood exactly what we were approving. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Steinle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just think that the building looks very nice. I like the fact that you added that color band that goes around the entire building. I think that just makes it just a little bit more distinctive beyond how it's already very distinctive. So I thank you very much for building something very nice. Thank you.
Let's,
Commissioner Schaaf.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm a little disappointed you didn't keep your proposal for the stone around the front windows. I really thought that was really neat.
You know,
But
I agree. But after we looked at it in place, it had some angles coming out of it, and if a kid came down on that, I could just see an.
I can understand that. I was just, all in all, it looks good. My only question is, are these the only changes? I don't want to get caught up in something going beyond this. These are the only changes.
Yes, sir.
The window size, the stripes around the building, and the different material for the stone.
Right, and then the
Okay.
little keystone we're putting on top of it.
Right, okay, I got that.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioner Ruffado.
Nothing. It looks great, and you explained the changes succinctly and to the point. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm going to forget his name. Commissioner Burns. I went
How
blank.
soon they forget.
I know.
I,
Gone but not
Thank you,
forgotten.
Mr. Chairman.
For that
Anything
compliment.
I can do to make Commissioner Schaaf feel better tonight?
That's right. I'm
This
working
looks good to
together
me, and I have no questions or comments. Thank you.
I have none either. Any other comments from anyone?
Yeah, I do have one comment.
Go
It's
ahead.
kind of off the record, but my granddaughter, pick her up every day after school, and we drive by there every day. And she is just enthralled with all the changes that are made and as the progression goes. And when I told her that you were coming before the Plan Commission, she said, "Oh, I want to see the pictures. I want to see the pictures." So you have a 7-year-old that's very excited to see this happen. She's really looking forward to this.
Pam, I've got a picture of the front that I'll give you too, that's
Oh.
like this.
Okay.
Okay, you can show her that too.
Yeah, she's really looking forward to seeing the inside.
Okay, good. Yeah, it'll be
Commissioner
great.
Steinle, you had your hand up?
Yeah, the only thing I wanted to add, just to make sure there's no misunderstanding with the proposed motion, you have here in reference to the approval sheet A2002 and A2001, which I believe are the more or less blueprint kind of drawings that do not show the front of the building. And I'm just wondering if we could somehow reference either the fact that the front of the building is not changing or include this additional old picture that Andrew has, the quote, old approved.
Why don't we just put in that a note that the front of the building is as originally proposed at the previous meeting? Just so in case someone, what you're saying is these pictures get mixed up in the file and
Right.
be some question. Good suggestion.
So there's one condition of approval, and it reads that the front elevation remain as originally approved.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Please call the roll.
Motion was made by Commissioner Dorban, seconded by Commissioner Ruffado. Commissioner Dorban.
Yes.
Commissioner Ruffado, I vote yes. Commissioner Schaaf.
Yes.
Commissioner Steinle.
Yes.
Commissioner Burns.
Yes.
And Chairman Maloney.
Yes. Here, Pen. You'll have something to sign, and we'll be all set.
Okay. This is the final action on this item. It is a minor appearance review, doesn't move on to the board, so you can update the construction drawings as needed, and you can be in contact with our office about that.
All right, great.
We do have something for you to sign, though.
Thanks so much.
Mr. Anderson, did you want these back? Thank you.
Just one?
See it on my.
Oh, should be thrilled. Thank you.
Okay, calling docket number 2011-19, continued from January 12, 2012, Fresh Farm Shopping Center, 253-291 East Dundee Road and 220-94 South Milwaukee Avenue, variation Title I signs relating to wall signs. This is a continuation of a public hearing. Do you swear that everything you're about to tell us is the truth?
I do.
And would you state your name and business address, please, into the microphone?
Sure. My name is Nicholas Vittori. I work for Sfigos Development. The business address is 580 Bank Lane in Lake Forest. And we developed and manage the Wheeling Shopping Center, which has the new Fresh Farms development.
Okay.
And if I could just apologize for not attending that last meeting. I'm sorry to waste everyone's time. I was a little bit confused as to the process with the tenant sign. The tenant was here and I was not. It is my mistake, and I apologize for making everyone have to review this again.
Mr. Jennings, do you have anything to comment on?
No, just procedurally, for the record, since the hearing has been continued, the SCBA docket associated with this did receive conditional approval. The conditional approval, of course, being that the village board ultimately approved the variation related to the appearance docket prior to issuance of a permit related to that sign. So that is where it stands right now. The commission, should the commission make a recommendation on this variation, this variation does still need to be forwarded to the village board for final approval.
Okay. And you want to state your case, please?
Sure. Yeah. With this particular tenant, Gray Clips had asked if we could work together with them to have a little bit of a larger sign due to the Chase Bank blocking them and their it's a small frontage. I think they only have something like 15 feet of frontage. They were concerned that they would kind of fall behind the Chase Bank and no one would really know that they were there from Dundee Road. I think it's a fine idea. You know, they're not proposing anything too grand. It's just kind of a nominal increase here. From our point of view, anything that we can do that stays within the theme of the shopping center and helps the tenants succeed, you know, we would like to support.
Mr. Jennings, could you explain for the millions of people watching on TV what we're doing?
With respect to the sign
What
itself?
the real thing is.
The sign for the subject unit is limited by the sign code, partially based on the size of the unit as well as the lack of a logo. The Village of Wheeling sign code encourages the use of graphic elements in a sign. This sign, because the business logo does not include that graphic element, would not be allowed to have quite the same sign area that another business might have had in the same unit. So the sign company, what you see here is the sign company's illustration of the conforming sign and the proposed sign. And I think they have another angle of it. The same thing here. The letter size is, in this case, what we're looking at, the 30-inch letter, includes the shadow background for, there's a black shadow behind the white letters. So that's what the 30-inch refers to in this case. So, and as I said, that sign has been approved pending approval of the variation associated with it.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on this subject? I don't see anyone, so I'm going to ask, starting with Commissioner Burns, if you have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have no questions.
Commissioner Raffato.
Thank you. This variation, would this apply to the whole shopping center?
As written, when we originally started working with Mr. Vittori on this, there was the thought that the other vacant units on Dundee Road might also need something similar. As the Back to Nature sign was designed, it does include a graphic element and doesn't need the same sort of help. So the petition was modified after it was originally published, and the motion that you have in front of you is limited specifically to the Great Cliff sign.
Okay, thank you. Then, and I'm okay with that, tell me about your theme of the shopping center. What is your theme that and I'll be specific, the wine depot, the wine store. We had a graphic in there.
A liquor barn?
Yeah, liquor barn. We had a graphic in there that we really wanted. And they came before us, you weren't here, they came before us and said that specifically you did not want that in there, you, collectively you.
Right.
So can you tell me what your theme is? Because the next time around, there was the iStore on the other side that had a real nice graphic. So you're not being very consistent in what you're offering here.
Right.
Now, so if you're talking about a theme, please tell me, please enlighten me, because I surely don't know what it is.
Sure. So I can tell you what our thinking was with the liquor barn. That is, I would say, the largest sign in the center. I think it may even be larger than what the Fresh Farm sign has ended up on that awning. I would bet that that's a larger sign. We are a little bit concerned with that sign effectively overshadowing the Fresh Farm signage. Now, we want a clean appearance on the front, and I think we can achieve that with some graphics and some not. But that sign, I think the eye portion of that was several feet. I mean, you're talking like 3 or 4 feet of signage there just for that one letter. And the ownership was a little bit concerned with it. They didn't quite like the way that it laid out with relation to Fresh Farms. So they didn't think that went along with the clean appearance on the front.
But a pair of glasses is a clean appearance. I don't understand your logic.
Right. I think
and we've been more than accommodating for that shopping center, and I just don't understand it. I don't understand it at all.
I think the glasses are, in terms of size, are significantly smaller than what the liquor barn portion is, and the glasses are also not on the frontage. They're on that little side piece. That's a little bit different, from what I recall.
Logically, it does not make sense, and you really don't have a theme, because what you're telling me just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. It really doesn't, and I'm really disappointed in that, especially in that. Extremely disappointed in what you did, because it was a nice graphic. It added some character to that, and you just shot it down. You've got it just a very plain sign. And granted, it's a liquor store next to a big grocery store, and I'm sure it's doing fine, but it's extremely disappointing. Extremely disappointing. And if it wasn't for this store, I'd be hard pressed. If this was going to go across all of your stores, I'd be hard-pressed to approve this because of that.
Oh, I'm sorry you feel that way.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Dorband?
Well, I just kind of want to piggyback on what Commissioner Raffato just said, too. If you were worried about the liquor barn sign overshadowing Fresh Farms, why did you allow or want to have the liquor barn letters be so large?
Well, I think the response to that is that we obviously want to work with the tenants to, we have to collect rent from these individual retailers to ensure that we can pay our own mortgage and our own expenses. And signage is one of the, as you all know, one of the most important aspects for these retailers. So there's a big difference in our view of allowing someone to put liquor barn up there, which we wanted the letters smaller, but the tenant wanted them larger. And in order to reach an agreement with the tenant, you have to work with them. They did not originally have they don't in any of their other stores have a logo. When this other logo was proposed to us, having, like a 4 or 5 foot letter was a little bit different than having a 4-foot logo, which was never part of the discussion. And once that was up on the awning, the Fresh Farms ownership as well as the building's ownership, they didn't feel comfortable with the way those two went together.
Okay, and then as far as Great Clips are concerned, the store next door to it, Back to Nature, is going to have a similar problem. And as I drove by there, when you get in front of the bank, you can't see Back to Nature at all. So I don't know how we address that one, because I can see that that's going to become just as much as an issue. Have they addressed you?
Yeah, we've mentioned this to them, and that's why the original application included the entire facade on Dundee to see if some of these other retailers on that side wanted the additional help. They specifically said they do not want that. They don't care, I guess.
So weren't they not going to come back to us next week or the week after?
Not that I'm aware of, because they would have asked me probably to assist with the process.
Their sign is completely blocked when you get in a
I agree with you. I agree with you. And you probably will be right that once it goes up, they may be unhappy, but, I think the offer was there from us to help them with this process, and now it's,
That's
already.
my only question. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Stylen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm a little bit hard of hearing this evening, so could you re-explain? Great Clips was before us not too long ago, and we approved something for them. I believe we approved the sign. Was that just a sign approval, or was it a variation to allow an increase of their sign?
It was both of those items were on the agenda that night. The variation that you have in front of you relates specifically to the Great Clips sign. Great Clips, the tenant was here at that meeting. The shopping center ownership was not. So the commission, because the tenant was here, rather than have the tenant come back twice, made a motion letting the tenant go that night with the conditional approval, because the shopping center owner was not here to speak on the variation.
So we approved, I don't know if I was here or not, but
You weren't.
we approved the sign, but the variation had not yet been granted.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to say that our variation ordinances require that all standards for variation be met before a variation can be approved. And I do not believe that all of the standards have been met, especially true for the docket stated standards number 2 and 3. Now, number 2 says the unusual conditions applicable to the specific property do not generally happen to other properties in the village. To tell you the truth, I don't have sufficient information to make a valid judgment on that item. I need the facts comparing this center to all of the other shopping centers in the village. Comparing the existing property, as was done in the docket, to Walgreens across the street or the 300 East Dundee stores isn't sufficient. I need the following facts for all the shopping centers in the village. And please note that a shopping center can have unique additional configurations, and that should be outlined for each of the centers. So the pieces of information that I would like to have when getting a variation for store signs, right, is what are the existing store sizes, sign sizes in the other shopping centers? Now, example, Lynn has 2 very large buildings and many more small stores. What are the setbacks of those stores from the road? Are there any buildings or other structures that block the visibility of those signs? Is the store signage parallel to or at an unusual angle to the roadway? Are there other signage available, like a directory or monument sign? And have any variations been granted to the other centers for that type of unusual conditions? Or are any sign variations granted to those other centers, and for what reason? If we can compare them, then we'd be able to make a rational decision if this condition is really unique and different than any other center in the building, in the village. And I don't believe that the petitioner has shown that with just a reference to Walgreens or the 300 Dundee Center. The other comment is that standard number 3 states, describe how the alleged difficulty or hardship has not been created by any person presently having an interest in the property. Well, here's the petitioner. There, the shopping center was just built. It was built and designed by the people that are making the request. They created the hardship. They should have known that if you build an outlet building in front of a store, that they're going to have some decreased visibility. And I believe that we've given them a very nice big monument sign to handle those small kinds of incidental hardships that might occur, and that there's no need for this particular variation or to extend it in general to any other business in the shopping center. So I am not for this particular recommendation until I have some additional information. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Schaaf.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I too have to echo my fellow commissioners. If Great Clips would have had a logo, their sign restriction would have been different. But if you would have applied the same rule as you did to the liquor barn, they wouldn't have had available the logo. I think the village has given concessions to this development, and we appreciate the what has been done. But you're asking for a variation because of something that you planned. And I think something has to be addressed other than just another variation.
What would you suggest?
It's not for me to suggest, Mr. Chairman. It's for the petitioner to suggest. It's just for me to approve or disapprove. That's my belief.
I think we're making a hell of a big issue over 6 inches on a sign. Any other comments?
Yes, I do have one. I've listened to all the comments, and I understand what people are saying about the fact that, this has been kind of a back and forth with one person having a bigger sign than somebody else, somebody being blocked, and to some degree I would have to agree with Chairman Maloney. But my greater issue here is the petitioner who is going to run Great Clips and the one who's going to do the Back to Nature. And while I really hate to make them suffer, because of a hardship that was basically self-inflicted. I'm really torn on this. I really am. I'm between a rock and a hard place. I don't know which way to go. I really don't. I'm disappointed on a lot of levels here. And I think we need a little more discussion.
If I could say one thing, I mean, obviously, we've worked with the village and the commission for a long time here, and I think we've had a very healthy and good relationship, and as a result, we've produced in a very, very difficult market a functioning center. Now, the discussions here that we're having are the same discussions that we have at our company. The Chase outlot was probably one of the biggest discussions. Now, the grocery store would love to have that parking. And from the real estate point of view, it's not financially feasible to run this shopping center without someone like Chase Bank there, which does block some of these tenants. That was a business decision we had to make. We did it. We had to just stay alive and survive here. Now, I understand that blocks some of these retailers, but when you build a center like this, you're trying to make sure you can stay financially viable. You don't have all the answers to begin with, and quite frankly, we didn't have a lot of these tenants when we first started to dig this lot up. Great Clips was someone that we had, opened up, I think in, I want to say something like August or September they had opened up, and they've done okay. He said that their business is fine, but they're obviously concerned about surviving. So, we want to create a center where everyone can survive and make money and contribute to the community, and obviously present what is already a phenomenally beautiful center and keep in line with what looks good already. And I don't think that adding 6 inches to the Great Clips sign would take away from the look of the center, and I just hope that it gives our retailer a little bit of maybe he catches 1 or 2 more people with that, and he can stay there and stay a member of the Wheeling community for longer. I mean, that's the point of this entire thing from our point of view, is keeping these guys viable. We do not want to buck the system. We want to keep a beautiful center and keep those 4 corners looking great, and I think we have. Back to Nature, we'd offered this to them. They're confident that they don't need it. Great Clips, on the other hand, really feels that he needs it. And they do not, obviously it's a national chain, they don't have a logo. And a lot of these tenants simply don't have logos. And, we're really just we just really want to just keep everyone viable and not impose too much on them.
I have another question. Andrew, if we increase the sign for Great Clips, Back to Nature, their sign is not as big, correct?
Are you referring to the square footage or the letters?
The letters.
I think the letters for Back to Nature are, I think the B is something like 16 or 18 inches.
And Great Clips is?
I think the G, if you take the shadow away, that the letter itself is, I think it's in the staff report. I don't want to give you the wrong information. 26 inches.
There's another concern that I have. We've got big, little, big, little. That's just an observation. I think once this others, if we approve Great Clips to be a bigger sign, now is Back to Nature going to look strange next to it?
Well, they're going to have to come in for a variation.
Well, that's my point exactly.
I mean, it's there. It seems to me that the shopping center was going to look for a variation, grant a variation for those 2 or 3 shops on the west side. And my guess is that if Back to Nature wants to come in, they're going to have to file that variation.
But the question, too, is from an aesthetic point of view, is it going to look weird?
Probably not with the bank in front of the sign.
That's encouraging for Back to Nature.
Well, exactly. And to echo Chairman Maloney's point about 6 inches from where you're driving and the speed that we are, I'm not sure 6 inches would make a difference.
Mr. Chairman.
On the other hand, though, the wine glass would have looked very nice there.
Whose idea was the wine glass?
That was ours. Well, but
Yours?
still, probably.
Yes, sir.
I just want to add a comment. I don't want to penalize Great Clips or the feeling that they're going to, increase their business because they have for the 6 inches. I did want to express my disappointment in the logo issue, but I'm not ready to penalize Great Clips. And I understand your concern on just the issue that you did bring up.
Yeah, I don't think that because we didn't like one sign, we should penalize or we got a problem with the developer, we should penalize Great Clips. So, any more discussion?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Just for the record, I would like to say that I believe that the G in Great Clips really is an unusual shape, an unusual design. It's kind of ovalish in nature, and I believe that really might be considered a logo for their company. At least I would be willing to consider it a logo for their company. As such, they would be able, if it was considered a logo, they would be allowed to have an increase in sign size.
They wouldn't need a variation, is what you're saying.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
I'm sorry, you get two deaf people.
That's right.
We wouldn't need a variation if that was considered a logo.
If that's true, I don't know if the numbers work out, but.
Do I hear, once again, I have to ask, is there
fair.
anyone in the audience that wishes to comment on this? All right.
I don't think it's their logo, though. That's,
Well,
unfortunately, I don't.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, please call the roll.
Motion was made by Commissioner Rufato, seconded by Commissioner Burns. Commissioner Rufato, I vote yes. Commissioner Burns?
Yes.
Commissioner Dorband?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaaf?
Yes.
Commissioner Steilen?
No.
And Chairman Maloney?
Yes. Got some paperwork to sign.
Thank you very much. We need to close the hearing on that one.
Do I hear a motion to close the public hearing on this?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Public hearing is closed on that.
Mr. Vittori, if you contact our office, we can let you know when this would be scheduled for the board review.
Calling dockets number 2011-23, A and B and SCBA 12-4, Advanced Auto Parts, 753 to 755 West Dundee Road. 211-23A is variation from Title 19 zoning relating to setbacks and parking. 23B is special use approval for auto parts retail store. And SCBA 12-4 is appearance approval of wall and freestanding sign for the public's information. This is the Ace Hardware building. Mr. Secretary.
Aetna Development Corporation contract purchaser is seeking the following actions in order to establish a retail auto parts store at an existing commercial facility located at 755 West Dundee Road. Hereinafter legally described below. 2011-23A, variations from Title 19 zoning of the Wheeling Municipal Code, Chapter 19-05, Mixed Use and Overlay Districts, Chapter 19.05.010L, Development Standards and Associated Setbacks, relating to the existing setbacks for the building and parking stalls, and special use plan approval as required under Chapter 19-05 Mixed Use and Overlay Districts, Chapter 19-10 Use Regulations, and Chapter 19-12 Site Plan Approval Requirements and Associated Sections in order to establish a retail auto parts establishment within an existing building in the MXT Transit-Oriented Mixed Use District. Standards for a variation. The zoning variation is intended to be a method of adjustment to equalize regulations where Title 19 of the Village of Wheeling zoning has created an unnecessary hardship. A variation is designed to allow affected property owners the same rights and privileges that others enjoy in the same zoning district. In order to be granted a variation, petitioner is required to demonstrate through testimony to the Plan Commission at the public hearing why their request meets the conditions of the village code, including but not limited to how their individual situation is unique or unusual. Prior to the public hearing, the petitioner provides written statements meant to show that the request for variation meets the standards established in Title 19. The Commission chairperson will typically direct that these statements be entered into the record without a full reading of them at the hearing. Based upon the testimony and supporting materials submitted, the Plan Commission will make findings in support of or against the petitioner's testimony and report those findings to the Village Board. Lastly, the standards for a special use. A zoning special use as defined in Title 19 of the Village of Wheeling zoning is a use of a parcel of land that requires review and consideration before approval due to circumstances or effects on the surrounding properties that may adversely affect them. In order to be considered for a special use, petitioner is required to demonstrate through testimony to the Plan Commission at the public hearing why their request meets the conditions of the Village Code, including but not limited to how the proposed use will not damage the enjoyment or use of surrounding properties. Prior to the public hearing, the petitioner provides written statements meant to show that their request for special use meets the standards established in Title 19. The Commission chairperson will typically direct that these statements be entered into the record without a full reading of them at the hearing based upon the testimony and supporting materials submitted. The Plan Commission will make findings in support of or against petitioner's testimony and report those findings to the Village Board.
Mr. Jennings?
Just a couple of brief staff comments before we invite the petitioner up to present the project. In the original staff report, there's a note regarding the signage for this item. There was, I'll just briefly flip through the slide. The elevation drawing shows a wall sign for Advanced Auto Parts. Staff requested a sign specification drawing with details on the construction and dimensions of that, which we then received and forwarded on, and that is this drawing. So the motion, the motion in the staff report would be updated to reference this drawing. I believe the way it's worded is a condition that says to be updated, something to that effect. So it would now be written so that it would reference the specific drawing. We also received a question of clarification both from the Commission and the petitioner regarding the carriage walk. Comment in the staff report, just to clarify what the staff report means. There's a carriage walk, an existing carriage walk, which is a sidewalk directly adjacent to the lane of traffic. Typically, the staff, the Plan Commission, and the board would suggest that condition be removed in any sort of redevelopment. The staff report comment is intended to point out that there are some positive impacts of leaving it. So it's up for discussion, but rather than just take the usual staff position, which is remove the carriage walk, period, there are some benefits that I was attempting to point out. I guess it did not make the point well, but there is landscaping that is proposed that would not be possible in the right-of-way if it's flipped to the carriage walk and parkway situation flipped. This gives an opportunity for snow removal, so snow from the private parking lot can be left in this area. And it also, as the staff report said, provides protection for the perpendicular parking spaces to back out. If the situation were reversed and the sidewalk is where the landscaping is, you have the potential, although somewhat unlikely, but you have the potential that a pedestrian could find themselves on the back bumper of a vehicle there. So that was what the comment was meant to say, and I apologize if that was added some unnecessary confusion both to the commission and the petitioner.
The petitioner here.
We are.
How many of you are going to speak?
Two of us, and there's a third person available.
Will the three people hold up their hand? Do you swear to tell the truth? And everything you're about to tell us is the truth?
I do.
Okay, and when you do speak, would you give your name and business address? Into the microphone, please.
You'll take these? Okay. Good evening. My name is Lawrence Friedman. I'm the attorney for Aetna Development, the petitioner. My address is 77 West Washington Street in Chicago. As indicated, Aetna is the contract purchaser of the subject property. I'm going to ask I was going to make some introductory remarks, but what you read took my script. So what I'll do is I'll have David Mangurten, our architect, run through the proposed site plan, highlight the areas that are subject to the requested variations, and we will be running through the sign appearance also. And I also have a signage consultant here tonight who I'm not intending to call, but he's here to answer any questions that the commission may have regarding the signage.
Thank you. Your name and address, sir.
My name is David Mangurten. I'm a principal with the architectural firm of KMA and Associates, Inc. Architects at 1161 Lake Cook Road, Deerfield. What I intend to do is go through the site plan, the landscaping, building, and signage. But first, I'd like to speak a few minutes about Aetna Development. They're a developer that has been very active in the Chicagoland market for 30-plus years and has developed projects of this kind, bigger, smaller, throughout northern Illinois, Michigan, Indiana, and Wisconsin. Our client is a contract purchaser, and with that, we inherited a lot of issues, and the variations that I'm going to point out are basically staff's attempt to make a non-conforming building, a legal non-conforming building for many of these. The first variance is to grant a variation for the side yard. The west side yard is 1.5 feet from the west property line, and your code requires 15 feet. At the south property line, the rear yard setback should be 25 feet, and because of the angle of the south property line, it varies from 7 to 10 feet. Regarding the setbacks to parking, your ordinance requires 10-foot setbacks at the front, the rear, and the two sides. And we are requesting variations to allow 0 setbacks, which is an existing condition for both the side yards. Regarding the parking, we're actually adding, I believe, 5 cars compared to the Ace Hardware use. And the zoning requirement is for 38 cars. We have 31 cars provided, so we're seeking a 7-car variation. Regarding the site, you're all, I'm sure, familiar with the building. There exists on the east side of the building towards the rear, the southeast corner, an appendage that is, I believe, the current receiving area for the Ace Hardware. That portion of the building was added, I don't know historically how long ago, and that's being demolished in our proposal. So the building, currently at 13,155 square feet, would get smaller, would become approximately 11,600 or 700 square feet. So regarding our variation request for parking, we're adding 5 cars and we're reducing the size of the building. This building is a unique building in the sense that it's a bowstring roof truss. It's a building that was commonly built probably in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s throughout Chicagoland, and created large open spaces and became very popular for retail uses, bowling alleys, and uses such as that. Our concept is to resurface or remove the pavement where we have to remove the pavement. And one of the problems with this site was the narrowness of the front. And I'm assuming that years ago, Dundee was maybe a narrower road, and the takings by IDOT required, created this narrowness of the front. And as a result, up and down this area of Dundee Road, you have a very difficult circulation pattern and a tight area for retailers to operate. So the property owner to the east of us has an easement that allows him to come onto our property. If you look at the plan, you'll see that he's got diagonal parking, which requires an eastbound direction to access those parking stalls at the north, and then he needs to wrap around, make a U-turn to get to those parking stalls on the south. So in planning this, we had to create a way to develop our property but still maintain that easement for those folks to the east, and we did that. As part of that, we decided to eliminate the sign, the existing pylon sign that is dotted on your plan, and create a new ground sign to the north of it. And that also created a barrier so that cars wouldn't head east in the wrong lane, because they would see that the direction of that aisle would be opposite. Let's see. The other major factor, I believe Mr. Jennings handled quite well, was in reconfiguring the north parking lot, which is diagonal. We were able to create a landscaping strip, which I believe is a plus for this project because it has no landscaping to speak of. So this project is giving this property some green that it currently does not have. The site, again, is a tight site, and Advance Auto will be serviced with a straight back truck, not a semi-trailer. I'm not sure how Ace Hardware has managed this site all these years. But Advance will, on all their other, they prefer to have a semi-trailer, but they will be serviced with a straight back truck of about, I think they're 24, 26 feet long. They expect to have one dedicated delivery a week, with special deliveries either by their own vehicles or UPS or FedEx or special carriers for specials. The landscaping not only is in that strip along Dundee Road opposite those 90-degree spaces, but also at the foot of the monument sign, which if you've been by the site, you'll see the double pole, existing double pole sign, and that is going to be removed. The landscaping we're proposing is broadleaf evergreens and flowering shrubs such as junipers and cotton easters, and burning bush shrubs. If we go to the building elevations, you'll see that Advance Auto has this branding of a red background. Their new freestanding stores all have a red sign band, which their yellow corporate sign, which is a backdrop for their corporate sign. Their front doors are made of, their storefront is made of a red aluminum to match the red of the sign band. The rest of the building, the other store will be a clear anodized aluminum, and the concrete block all around the building will be painted this color, which is Castle Rock. And the retail portion that is not Advance Auto will have this light ephes color as a sign band. We introduced the red all the way around to kind of tie that red Advance Auto sign band together. This bowstring roof structure provides a lot of challenges for us. The way it works, if you're familiar with them, the bottom is flat and the top is arched. So you're roughly at 12 feet above the floor to the bottom, and then the arch goes up another 8 or 9 feet. And it's pretty hard, I would say impossible, to screen the rooftop units completely. So what we're proposing is to use some screening that's attached to the rooftop units. So from the east side of the building, there are proposed 2 rooftop units, and they will be screened in a color to match the Castle Rock, which is the same color as the masonry construction. There was a lot of confusion about the front of the building when we submitted to staff, partly because of my staff's identifying the materials. The front of the building, if you were to go by it today, you'd see it's wood. They've added a wood covering to the existing brick construction. And at the bottom, you can see what appears to be a red brick. We don't know the condition of that brick because it's been covered up for so long. I suspect that when we pull off, or when the contractors pull off the wood, that some of that material might not be in good shape. So in talking to staff, I would like to have the flexibility, and I would work with staff, to either we replace the brick, or if it's in good shape, that we would stain it a color, a uniform color. And if we replace the brick, we would use this rose color material, rose-colored brick. If the brick is in good condition and we can stain it, then we would stain it a similar color. The ground sign is a monument sign. It has
There it is.
it has a masonry base. It's compliant with your ordinance. It will have, as I said, landscaping around it. And similarly, the wall signs are the Advance Auto's corporate logo. The letters are 30 inches tall and 35 feet long. And we're allowed, I believe, 90 square feet per the ordinance for wall signage, and I believe we're at close to 80. So we're actually under the allowed signage. That's all I have. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Well, we've got to do a few other things.
Okay.
Is there anyone in the audience, this is a public hearing, that wishes to speak on this? There being no one, I'm going to ask staff, do you have any comments?
Yes, the commissioners have our staff report from January the 9th, and there are several items that we feel need to be addressed with this particular plan as they have it. One of the first ones appears that the drawing that's up on the screen is a little different than the original side elevation, because the man door by the loading dock door, if I recall, is closer to the buttress portion that's there, and it was directly in front of one of the parking stalls. And we were recommending that the spot be eliminated because the door was opening right into a parking spot and it would impede egress of the occupants during an emergency. We're looking for a turning radius exhibit because of the landscape feature with the pylon sign. We don't know what the ability of the fire apparatus to circumnavigate between the two sites, how easily that can be done with the larger apparatus. In the landscaping in that carriage walk area in front of the building, they're showing a 2.5-inch caliper Japanese lilac. We have a concern once those trees develop and get the larger outgrowths at the top, it's going to hang over into the roadway area adjacent to the parking lot that would affect our ability to park aerial apparatus in front of the building during emergency incidents. And then finally, their addressing, as they show it, they're looking for 755 as the numeric address for the AutoZone, it appears. And with the addressing along that portion of Dundee Road and the existing addresses on either side of that particular property, the 755 would have to be assigned to the unused portion of this building, and 753, I believe, would probably be the address that fits in with the village's numbering grid. There are a couple other comments in the staff report, but they're not, these are the major ones that the fire department has.
On the trees, would you recommend like an ornamental pair?
If they had something, that grew to be like 9, 10, 12 feet and didn't really blossom out like a larger tree, that would be fine.
Okay. Thank you. Start with Commissioner Burns.
Thank you. These plans look to be a big improvement over a problematic building in town. You have a lot of issues to work out with engineering and with the fire department that we just heard from during this development, but I'm sure you will. A couple specific questions. The trash enclosure. There's no trash enclosure there now, is there? Ace Hardware doesn't have their trash dumpster there, do they?
I don't believe so.
Because I'm wondering if you are blocking access to the rear of the building to the east of you.
There's
there
pipe bollards there and a curb there, so it's you can't access through there.
Okay. So
How about fire department access, two guys in a wooden ladder?
Yeah, with the existing curbing and bollards, there's no access at that portion as it is
None
now.
at all. Thank you.
Can't you get behind there from the east? Isn't it open to go behind Wheeling Donuts and get back?
think
Yeah,
it
I think
is.
it goes down, around, comes up the side of Wheeling Donuts, if I recall.
Get in, you can't get out.
It'd be nice to have it both east and west openings, but I guess there's only the east currently. So let me look at my notes here. The HVAC units on the roof I assume they're there now, or they screened it all now, or?
No, they're not screened now. But
Yeah,
in discussing with staff, we agreed to do what we could, and the only thing I could come up with, without creating a parapet wall that goes up 10 feet,
yeah, we don't want that.
would be these, various people make them, and I brought a sample of it, and they're lightweight, and they actually sit on the frame.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not much you can do other than replace that bowstring truss with a
Right.
flat truss, but I suppose that would raise the cost a little bit. The sidewalk, the carriage sidewalk, I really hate it, but again, this is just a problem area, and you've got a carriage sidewalk to the west of you anyways. I know when I'm riding my bike down that stretch of Dundee Road, I go in the parking lot just to get away from those cars whizzing by eastbound on Dundee. And I hope in the future we can fix that entire problem. Yeah, I would guess I'm in favor of the project. I want you to, of course, address the concerns that Inspector Antar just mentioned, the parking stall blocking. I assume that doorway is going to be an emergency exit in the back of the building, so.
There's a couple ways, I mean, first of all, we'll definitely do what he requests. I think it makes sense. There is another way, and we've developed a corridor in the back, and I think there is a way to eliminate that door if Advance Auto, if you go to, the floor plan,
No.
see, originally, in order to allow the retail to the west to have its second exit, we created a corridor in the back. The intent was that Advance Auto would have same access. So they chose to put that man door in that
To the
fire
east?
chief is talking about. So I hate to lose another parking space, but unless I can figure another way to get them to exit, we will. By the way, the parking spaces that are delineated with X's were intended to be employee spaces. Now, we have a lot of width at that part of the building, so there might be a way to put pipe bollards in to allow that door to swing and people to exit and and have that parking space remain. I can work that out with staff, but I believe there's enough width in that east side of the building to do that. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a little bit too small because you've got the 18 or 19 foot from the vehicle and 3 foot for the door swing.
Well, you have 27 feet almost 28 feet as a drive aisle. And the reason we did that was to give the vehicle, the service vehicles, the delivery vehicles a little more maneuvering space back there. But I see a way, as I'm standing before you, to let that particular door stay by creating a place so the car would not be up against that door. I believe there's a way.
Okay, if the commission so feels, we can work with the petitioner on that.
I would address it with staff.
We can put a condition in there that you work on an alternative for that with the approval of the fire department.
And as far, if I may respond to him on the other issues, the landscape, the ornamental tree isn't a problem. Changing it, we'll have to come back to staff regarding the turning radius of the emergency vehicle. I did not bring that tonight.
Those are my questions and comments, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Ruffado.
Thank you. I would like to see, you said you had some materials to shield the existing units. Sure.
these are, this was done right before the meeting. Staff had suggested I bring something so that those of you who are not familiar with it could see how it works. And if you page through there, you'll see our intent is to provide a horizontal louver type, but there's vertical, they get kind of ornamental, but with this kind of a building, I think a plain horizontal louver of a color to match the building, I think would be the best we could do under the circumstances.
Well, I'd like to see that added to the plan. And I'll defer to everybody else, too. You mentioned to the east of building, parking space and driveway to be resurfaced with asphalt. Are you talking the whole property?
Yes, what's going on is we're demolishing a building, so there's going to be some damage there. The condition of that concrete is pretty bad. We're in a floodplain, so we can't we can't add material to it. So we're going to have to grind down the asphalt that's there to resurface that. And then unfortunately, the concrete in the front will be replaced with, have to be pulled out to be replaced with asphalt.
Okay. With asphalt instead of the concrete?
Right.
Okay. Right in front of the building?
Correct.
So you walk into the building, you're walking in asphalt instead of concrete?
Correct. The sidewalk is concrete. Most parking lots are asphalt.
Right. I'm sorry. I was confused.
What sidewalk are you talking about?
I'm talking about the sidewalk entering the building.
That's staying, the concrete.
Well, I think it may have to be reconfigured, but
it's going to be...
that's concrete.
It's going to be...
Oh, okay.
Okay,
All right.
that's concrete.
Okay.
I was hearing what you were hearing.
Right, yeah, okay. Okay, and then, so that's fine. And then the fence that is in back of the building,
That will be a cedar fence.
matching the,
The trash enclosure is a cedar also.
right. So there, I assume, that currently is Ace Hardware's fence now, or the property owner's fence now?
I'm not sure if it's, I'd have to defer to staff. I'm not sure if that's the commercial properties fence that's there now or the residential. But we agreed with staff to provide a new fence there.
Okay, so we run into this, and I'm not certain if this is a public hearing, so they would know about this because they're right behind it. But I don't want to be in a situation where there are double fences there.
Correct. I don't know what to tell you. We'll work with staff to do the right thing.
Andrew, do you know?
Let me just check real quick. It may be on the survey. Should be on the survey.
Survey says.
Survey says.
I don't have a large copy.
Let me see if you can see it from.
Oh, I may have
It appears to be on the property. On the subject property.
Likely is ours.
Yes.
Otherwise, they'd be approaching the whole length of the property.
Yes.
And that fence will, we like to have metal posts wrapped with cedar? Okay. Then, you talked about there's only going to be one delivery a week with some kind of, what kind of truck was it?
It's a panel, I mean, it's not a semi. We could not get a semi to work on this site. So as much as Advance Auto hates to use these straight back trucks because they're smaller and they have to be contracted, on a few tight sites, they're using these straight back trucks, which are bigger than UPS trucks, but we did run a computer
Model?
model on it, and that worked very easily.
Okay. So how, and I guess this is a question to staff, how do we police that? Because they say they can't get a semi in there, but I could easily see a semi coming right to the front, dropping off stuff. How does that get policed?
Well, in a special use, a condition of approval specific to the special use, there is the policing is really the complaint based, and it would be the risk is really high actually for compared to a regular retail. This being a special use retail, they would run the risk of having that be revoked. So it would be complaint basis, but it is a special use.
Okay, well, and then I'll get to special use after this. And what time do you think this truck will be delivered? It'd be having their deliveries?
I don't think we can pin that down. I mean,
What are your hours of the store?
the hours are, for now, it's 7 to 9, 7 days. They would curb it back on the weekends. If they see that they're doing well, they would stay open 7 to 9.
Then you mentioned, okay, which I think on a Sunday morning, 7 o'clock is a bit excessive. You mentioned that they have their own trucks that they do delivery. Are these going to be housed on this property?
I believe most Advance Autos have 2 vehicles that would deliver to commercial customers.
So that takes away two parking spots in essence, right?
Well,
Well, they do.
yeah, I mean,
They,
they're out and back, out and back.
well, but
yeah,
the reality is that they take up 2 spots.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. All right. So now let's get to the special use. I'm okay with the variation because I'm sure that's got to be split. Is this a franchise or individually owned?
The building is owned by our client, and Advance Auto will be the retailer. They don't have, to my knowledge, franchises.
Okay. So do you do any type of analysis to see what other, does Advance Auto do any type of analysis to see what other type of auto repair shops are in the area?
I can't.
Is somebody here from Advance Auto?
No, there isn't, but let me answer that. And they're not unique in this regard. Anybody's going to go in that area, there's a market study. They know the other stores that are in the area.
There's one a block down.
They know that.
And there's one this way too.
They know that too. And as the commission is aware, when they were before you a year and a half ago to go into Lynn Plaza, they were aware of it when it was approved. That store never went ahead, but they wanted to be there for at least 2 years in that area. And when that didn't come to pass, they want to go here, and they've clearly done market studies. They do everywhere they go.
Well, I can tell you in the last 2 years, my attitude on repair shops, auto repair stores has changed drastically. And I can tell you that I am not in favor of this at all. And I'll be specific as to why in special use. We have got a auto parts store down the street here that is constantly, even though we have signs that say you cannot do auto repair in front of the building, okay, and we have signs there, and I shop there. Every day I go by there, and there are hoods up. Sometimes I've even seen cars jacked up being worked on. And I don't need that on Dundee Road. So that would probably address the essential character of the area. It really does alter the essential character of the area, having another auto parts store on Dundee Road. And then again, how the location, nature of the intensity of the operation. Well, you know, it seems to be intense. It seems to be intense, and we've already got 2 auto parts store on Dundee Road. And then lastly, public convenience for special use. We've got 2 auto parts stores within the village. I think we have 3 auto parts store within the village. I know there's one here, there's the one on Dundee, there's one on Milwaukee Avenue. 3 auto parts store already in the village of Wheeling. I don't think, personally, I don't think we need another one. And I know somebody's going to come up to me and say, well, it's better than an empty building. But I'm sure somebody, if somebody could come in with a variation, a less intensive use, something that's not as obtrusive, and something that we really can't control because we can't control the auto zone as it is right now. Every time I go by there, people are working on their cars. I constantly ask the village, how can we do anything about it? And nothing ever gets done, and I don't want to get into that other problem. That's all I have.
Can I make a comment?
Sure, can.
Given the intensity of your response, I know I'm not going to change your mind, so I'm not going to try to, but I think it's not a fair consideration, and I think it's anti the American free enterprise system. Well, I do. To take the position that other operators who happen to be competitors can operate there in that area, and because you feel there's enough of that product or that service that it's inappropriate to give them an opportunity to be there. I think that's not the free market.
Well, unfortunately, when that one went in, we didn't have a special use in place because I probably would have voted that one down also.
Well, I understand that, and I understand. I respect your position. I'm not trying to debate with you, but I don't think it's fair. I think if we go in there, we'll all survive, or maybe they're more efficient, maybe their pricing's better. We believe it is, and they will survive when someone else perhaps won't. And I don't think that's a fair consideration, to be honest with you.
I'm sorry, I can't. Me personally, I can't.
As I said, I respect what you're saying.
Right. Thank you. That's all I have.
I have a question. Are you keeping the ceiling in the building, or are you taking it out?
Taking it out.
You're taking it out, so you're going to go right up to the beams?
Right.
Good. That's a fire hazard, right? Those Quonset hut type buildings?
Bowstring trusses are inherently dangerous in the fire service.
Fire could be
they have a bad
raging before
history.
you knows it.
It won't be hidden without the ceiling.
Yeah, good.
That's an improvement.
Commissioner Dorband.
Thank you. I just want to make sure, will we be able to keep the sample board that you've provided so that we can make sure the colors are the same?
Oh, sure.
Okay, that's one thing. Do you have any fence samples?
No.
Are they going to be board on board? How is this fence going to look? We've had issues where, somebody said they're going to put in a fence, and we trusted them and came back with a very cheap fence, and it was down within a year. So I don't want to.
We could provide a sample.
Okay, I'd like to see that happen.
Commissioner, would you like board on board?
Yes.
Why don't we make it board on board?
Or, the other possibility is, make it solid. Maybe that's even better.
What is your preference?
So, what's
I'm
our
open.
preference? Board on board, solid, Commissioner? We'll nail it down right now.
I like alternating board.
Pardon?
I like alternating board.
Board on board.
Okay.
James?
I would prefer solid.
Pardon?
Solid.
Solid. Pam?
I think solid.
I would prefer solid. It'll keep debris from blowing
Terry?
through.
Norm?
Solid.
Solid,
It will be solid, and we'll provide you a sample.
and be with metal posts.
Yes.
Now, in looking at the designs, Andrew, can we put up the designs that we have here? Next one, the south and west. These are really, the south is fine. It's the west that is so plain compared to the east, where at least you have the red striping. Is there any way of making that look a little bit? It's just so plain.
Even though it faces sort of the alley of the next building.
You'll
Well,
be
it's
able to see it coming up the street. Dundee
Yeah.
Road.
No, they can't. From the west?
If I'm coming from the east on Dundee Road, I can see right down, at least halfway down there.
I'm sorry, coming from the east?
Coming from the east, heading west. You can look down there and see the side of the building.
No, we have the stripe on the east side.
You have it on the east side, but I'm talking
Her
about...
comment is put on the west side.
On the west
He's saying you
I'm
can't see
saying-
the west side of the
I'm
building.
saying-
Oh, I'm sorry, the west side is up against a building, isn't it?
Right.
That's right.
Oh, okay, never mind. Okay,
I'm sorry, I misunderstood what she said.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I.
Okay,
Providing the red. on
No, I
the
think you
side.
clarified that.
And then obviously I, want to go over the fire department concerns as well as Mr. Gray's concerns. So those are all things that are going to have to be addressed.
We
as
fully
well.
recognize we have to meet all the fire department requirements. That's
And-
not an issue for us.
Just to clarify, however people vote here is their opinion, but our charge is really to determine whether we think what is being presented to us is a good use of that property. So it's not really whether we like something or don't like something, it's more of a case of, is it a good use for that piece of property? And that's how I try to look at it, rather than my opinion of, or whatever is around it or whatever is close to it. So there could be 4 auto parts dealers that wouldn't affect me. What would affect me is it a good use of that piece of property? And so that is how I will make my determination. But that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Stylen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I'm a little bit hard of hearing this evening, especially when I talk. I can't hear anything else that's going on. It just reverberates in my head.
Then for your information, everything was favorable.
I didn't hear a thing said, so.
That's unfair, we can't hear.
I really don't have too many problems with the site plan itself. I think it can be approved a little bit. I think you've done a fairly good job. Where you annotate on the site plan where it says where those X's are, where you say that'll probably be employee
Right.
parking, can we also state that that is where your delivery vehicles
Sure.
will be parked during the off hours, let's say?
The logic is there for them to be there because they want as many of the cars for the customers. And that's why we created a corner entry, by the way.
We can do that.
Right, and I don't know if you're going to use that door back there for that kind of entrance and exit, but maybe. Number 2, where your monument sign is, this little green doodad area, and then to the west of that, there appears to be a little vacant sidewalk, curb cut, void area. I'm wondering if we could just round that out or angle it out a little bit, so we could get maybe,
Are you noticing where he's pointing with this point?
Yeah, I'm actually.
Right.
Staff and I talked about that.
maybe to get a little more,
I can see.
Staff and I talked about that, and I really thought we had corrected the plan. We will fill that in.
just to get a little bit more
Right,
green
it
space
doesn't-
in there.
It doesn't help anything the way it is.
Yeah. Okay, if you could do that, that'd be great. The plan calls for 6 to 12-inch high junipers. Could we get something in there that's maybe more 2-foot-ish or so to hide some of the cars?
He's done with the fire department.
No,
Okay.
no.
Go ahead.
I'm sure we could.
And I just think that would be nice. And then I'd like to get a little more color in, and maybe some annual type plants around there that are colorful, or if you want to go with perennials that are colorful, you might be able to find some springy colors. And
The idea is to try to do something low maintenance, but the shrubs that we try to pick in this kind of a situation have to be hardy, and we did try to pick flowering ones, so we'll keep your suggestion and
yeah, and if you go with perennials, the salt will probably kill them anyway, so that's why maybe, have some annuals that you can just spread out,
We'll look at it and talk to staff about it.
that the existing paint, and I'm sure the brick on that building is probably going to be in a state of disrepair, so just be forewarned, it was kind of ugly, that's why they painted it and covered it up, so. The mechanicals, they're not shown anywhere on the plan. Are they the existing mechanicals?
The existing is going to be removed. The existing, there's a big structure that if you were to stand across Dundee Road, you'd see a big duct structure right above the entry. That's coming out, and currently the existing building has air handlers that are up in the joist, in the truss space. Well, all that's coming out. So this will be a more contemporary and, more current technology in terms of these air conditioning and heating and what's there.
I think the existing roof is a black color, if I'm
Right.
Is the new roof going to remain a blackish?
All these developments are economic driven, and we haven't done a survey of the condition of the roof. And I'm sure the intent is to salvage the roof as much as we could. So I think it's black or gray, it'll probably stay black or gray.
The only reason that I ask, if you're going to put up some mechanicals and screening, maybe if they matched the roof color,
Yeah.
they might be less
Obtrusive.
obvious,
Okay. That's another
than
consideration.
putting a white something on a black roof. But just consider that as you finalize your plans. Unfortunately, when we did do the other automobile place in town, we did make a requirement as a condition of the special use that there be no semis allowed for delivery. And if you watch that site every Thursday, it seems like there's a semi blocking Dundee Road trying to squeeze into the parking lot. Even though it's a condition, it
Right, it's not enforced.
does not seem to be enforced.
Right.
And I believe that we did require, as a condition, no on-site maintenance.
And
We
there's
had-
signs up.
We had signs posted throughout the parking lot and on the building that there be no on-site maintenance.
Mr. Styler,
Again, as
could I-
a condition of use.
Could I ask a question about, you've touched a couple of times on the semi-trailer thing. I don't understand something. I heard Mr. Jennings, and I agree with him. If you put a condition, whether it's in our special use ordinance or somebody else's, prohibiting semi-trailers, I mean, all you have to do for a couple of weeks is have one of your police cars drive by, and if they see it, you can cite the person in, and it's a violation of the special use, and it's very enforceable.
Unfortunately, we're not the police department, nor do we do enforcement.
Well,
We
but
just-
there is a methodology here. Now, maybe what you're experiencing on the other site is it's not owner-operated, maybe it's a franchise, maybe it's leased. I mean, these trucks are going to be their own. They're scheduling the deliveries and they're controlling the vehicle. It's easier to be more responsible if it's your truck.
Yeah, I hear you. And, as far as the on-site maintenance, I mean, we see people changing batteries, we see people changing oil, we see people changing antifreeze, and, car hoods are open, but nothing ever seems to get done. Even taken pictures and sent them in, but that doesn't seem to make any difference either. So I think that kind of covers what you've done so far. Some of my concerns are more or less general concerns and how it reflects the overall plan. How many parking spaces does your auto parts company need for their operation?
I believe in the range of, by, I'm sorry.
It doesn't help.
Okay. All right. I don't recall what staff had calculated based on our reduced, the public space in this building is small. In other words, the
He's not asking you the requirement.
Oh, he's asking-
He's asking you if.
I see.
If we have enough parking.
Oh, definitely have enough
Yeah.
parking.
Yeah, we feel we're over, the user feels they're overparked.
But how many are planned on site?
31.
And how many do you need to do your operation? I'm trying to find out how many are left over for the other use.
We weren't, unless he knows it, we weren't given a specific number by Advance Auto, but we were told 31 was more than enough for them, and they don't think they'd be at capacity with 31 spaces, based on the number of employees and based on the customers and based on how many people come in. I mean, what was the, if I may ask, what was the experience with Ace Hardware? Was that facility underparked, or were there a lot of open spaces? It's not that different to use.
I don't know, you might have more auto parts use than I had. But the point I'm trying to get at is I want to make sure that whatever parking is left over, that there's going to be enough for the other use of the 355, if that's the fire department's recommendation, the 355 side of the building versus your 353 side, and how that's going
I understand the concern. It's a very legitimate question. I don't have a specific number. I can't tell you it's 21 or 22 or 15, but they felt that it was more than adequate, and they fully recognized that there was going to be another retail use on the site, obviously, and they still were comfortable with it.
Okay. And my other comment is that I think with that kind of lead-in, this docket is woefully deficient in terms of what is being done and what's being requested. Normally, when we have a variation for parking, it's a variation is being requested to reduce the parking from A to B. If we're talking about side yard variations, front yard variations, setback, normally all our packets say side yard is being reduced from this number of feet to that number of feet, backyard from this number of feet to that number of feet. I see, at least I haven't been able to find in any of the documentation, anything that says quantitatively, number one, what variations explicitly are being requested and what those variation quantities are.
I thought there were. Are you referring with the parking, for example? We were asking for variation 7 spaces.
I don't know that I see that in the plan. I don't see a front yard variation. I don't see, I mean, I hear what you said about the side yard variation that you said was normally 15 feet or whatever, and your building is 12 inches from the west side. Mm-hmm. And I thought that we had allowed in our ordinances a 0 lot line size that maybe 12 inches might be okay because you can't exactly build. But those kinds of things are not documented in our plan or in the docket. And when it comes to motions, it just says, you know, required minimum parking, minimum building setback, minimum parking setback, and it doesn't say exactly what the plans are. So I just think that the plans aren't complete. And I'll also ask Andrew, last night you sent us a packet of pictures, and I'm wondering in this packet of pictures, there were 7 pictures you sent, if you could display picture number 2 of 7.
If it's one of the ones that we put in here, is that it?
No, here, it's, It's this picture that I received last night as part of the additional documentation for the packet that showed the parking lot along the east side of the street extending from the rear yard line all the way up to the front Dundee Road entrance, completely blocking the entrance and exit to the Gaslight Shopping Center.
What the commissioner is referring to is the site plan that the sign manufacturer used. I believe it's a obsolete version of the site plan that you've been working on, but they included a sign location plan to show where the wall sign is and where the freestanding sign is. At least on the part of staff, there was no intention for the sign location plan to be a site plan update.
I hear you, but it looks like a site plan, and it was on an 8.5 by 11 sheet that I got. I just happened to shrink it down so I could.
The purpose of that 7-page update.
Additional information sheet.
Was this wall sign dimension drawing.
And, I don't believe that should have been in our packet as part of the documentation, only because this kind of thing has happened before, where all of a sudden we approve what we think we're approving on the real plan, and the builder goes ahead and builds what he says we approved. Oh, and by the way, it's got a January 24th date on it, and it was marked received by staff. So anyway, I just think our homework hasn't been done very good, but I think you guys, if you can just do a few tweaks here and there, you'll be okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Schaaf.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to ensure that the site plan is what we see posted on the board.
It is.
It shows the entrance to Gaslight, which is your east neighbor, not blocked.
Yes,
Okay.
in fact, as his testimony indicated, we even aligned the way we did it to accommodate the way his parking is.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
That's correct.
Yeah, because there are people that come in currently into the Ace Hardware parking lot and head east to get to the donut shop, get to the cleaners.
No, you're correct. That is our
Right.
site plan.
Okay. And that's good. The carriage sidewalk, I am not in favor of. You're going to have, when the winter hits, and of course it hasn't hit this year.
But it will.
And hopefully it won't, but when they plow Dundee Road, the snow's going to go up on the sidewalk. People are going to walk through or walk through the parking lot. That's just the nature of the carriage sidewalk. I don't like it. Even though you have landscaping there, you're going to get salt up in there.
The petitioner's amenable to whatever you recommend on the carriage walk, stay or go. We'll do whatever is your pleasure.
And I'm torn between having a sidewalk that's usable, 9 months out of the year, rather than, having nothing there at all. And I'm torn. You see this side of East Wheeling, the east side of the railroad tracks, you've got 5 lanes. Past Wheeling Road west, you've got 4 lanes. That's going to be it's a problem now, because when they turn into Pearl Vision, when they turn into the donut shop, when they turn into Ace Hardware, it's a traffic blocker. Your competitor west of you has an advantage in that he's got a turn lane. that he can get into. As I would hope, and probably you would hope, you would eventually want 5 lanes out there. I don't know where you're going to get them from, though.
Yeah, we understand it's IDOT.
That's an IDOT issue.
We know.
And sooner or later, it's going to come. There's no provision in here for what's going to happen. I can see part of your property, getting used. I can see across the street part of that property, and it's going to be a tuggle. You are at a disadvantage. Eastbound traffic's fine. Going east, going west. I mean, coming in and then going east is fine. When it's westbound traffic, that traffic turning in there, that is a problem. Like my fellow commissioners, I hope that a semi doesn't try to pull in there. That's another issue. I believe you when you say you're not going to have a semi in there. If it happens to turn out like AutoZone, I hope that they police that. I would hope that they would police AutoZone. They haven't yet, but I hope they do. Your site plan looks good. I'm not in favor. I like the fire department. That those roofs are dangerous. They're inherently dangerous. Hopefully you don't have that economic burden to replace that roof. Even though I would like to see it replaced. But you still have an economic, chore ahead of you, to keep the cost down, to make it a viable business at that location. When you were across the street in Lynn Plaza, you kind of got lost in that big parking lot in there. And when somebody had an issue where they're going to pop the hood and they're going to work on their car, you kind of got lost in there. In here, you're not going to get lost. It's going to be, somebody coming down. Dundee Road is going to see that. I don't like to see it. Like Commissioner Dorban, it's not for me to decide what business goes in there. Does the business fit in there? Yeah, I'm still making up my mind. The site plan looks good. Thank you.
Thank you. That side of the street from the railroad tracks all the way to probably to the pedestrian bridge is kind of a scruffy area. And I think the design of your building, what you've done is very good. It brings it way up to date. Yeah, we've all got concerns about auto parts places, but the problems we got there are enforcement problems. If we know that there's a trailer truck at one of your competitors at 10 o'clock every Thursday morning, why the hell doesn't the enforcement people know about it too? So if they enforced it, I'm sure it'd come to a stop very quickly. So that's something that we put into our regulations here, that you can't do that. I don't know if a semi-truck could even get in there the way you've got it configured. Have to be articulated in the center to make that corner backing in. So I'm not worried about that. But again, we don't want you to have one, and it's an enforcement problem. And we've got to do something about that. Other than that, I think you've done a good job. It's a free market. Everyone's free to make money or to fall on their face. And if there's too much competition, that's the weaker is going to fall. So with that said, is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on this? There being no one, I'm closing this portion of the public hearing. Any other comments?
Yes, I have a couple.
Commissioner Raffato.
I think the brick in front, I think Commissioner Stein was talking about it. I think we should probably just have it replaced. I don't know, why make a judgment there? Why don't we just replace it, have it replaced as part of the condition? And then also, pardon? I said that you were asking about the brick, and is it something that we should just put in there to replace? I mean, instead of, it's he said, they said,
I think Ace took the easy way out and just put on a Sunday, boarded up the front of their building. I don't think it ever came before the Plan Commission, so I think they need to look at it.
We need to look at it. If it's in bad shape, we're going to replace it. If it's in good shape, we don't spend the money. But we're not trying to cut a corner there. We don't. It's literally the foundation of the building, and if it's bad, we'll replace it. But we haven't seen it.
and also the hours, 7 o'clock. Do you know what AutoZone is?
Not off the top of my head.
I forgot to look.
I think most of them are pretty early because they're delivering to service stations and all.
Okay.
That's you've got one on Rand Road. You know what the hours are there?
I mean, when we gave you that range of hours, and David even said it, they commented that based on weekend traffic, they might curtail some of the weekend hours, but they want to see. But basically, those are the maximum hours in a sense.
7 to what?
7 to 9.
I think based upon the traffic at 7 o'clock in the morning on Dundee Road, I don't think they're going to have too much competition for getting in and out.
Well, actually, I was thinking about the neighbors behind. That's what I was thinking about, more so, because it backs up to residential.
Well, the hardware store is open at about that time, isn't it? 6 or 7 in the morning, and the laundromat's open, donut shop's open at 5.
And then lastly, the delivery schedule, you were evasive on that.
I don't know what time of day it is. I mean, what he said was there will be one scheduled delivery a week, and there may be some special deliveries for specific items. I don't know what time of day. We could find out, and we can let staff know. We just don't know.
Right, I'd like to have that added into there. And then lastly, when I was talking about my displeasure with this use, I was looking at the special uses, and I'm all for free trade. But the very first special use asks for is necessary for the public convenience. And to me, having 2 or 3 auto parts store and one within a block is more than convenient. I don't, I agree. Only the strong survive. But from a special use standpoint, the way I look at it, you've got one that's 1 block away for a special use. And then the essential character, we're adding, it's not going to enhance the special character when we have additional cars being worked on Dundee Road. That's the truth of it. And, we will never get that enforced. We have not done that. And we just, from my perspective, it just doesn't, it doesn't help. And it hurts it. It really does hurt it, and it does alter the character. And then the nature and intensity. I think it's going to be a little bit more intense. So that's all I had.
Any other comments?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Andrew, do you have on, as a potential condition, signs prohibiting on-site maintenance like we have for AutoZone?
We could add, there are 10 conditions right now, combination of staff report conditions and items that I've been drafting as we've gone through the discussion, so I can read through all of those. Is there suggested wording on a condition related to on-site signage?
Well, I guess we could look at what we had for AutoZone. I don't, the sign should be, on-site auto maintenance is prohibited.
We had specific wordings for the other places.
I can write the recommendation is not the ordinance, so I can write a recommendation, condition, and we can go back and check how the other one was phrased.
Okay, thank you. And regarding the bowstring truss roof, you're going to remove the ceiling, and then you have the open to the roof look.
Correct.
There's a delicatessen/grocery store less than a block west of this location, just the other side of Elmhurst Road, called Christina's Deli. And what they did with their bowstring truss roof is amazing. They cleaned the wood. It looks brand new. It's all polyurethaned and beautiful. And, you know, I would suggest you take a look at that. I don't want to tell you your job, but it can be done. And it's very attractive.
We've actually been in the truss space. Those trusses are in good shape. Visually, you never know until everything's cleaned out. You know, that's part of the interior cosmetic design.
Yeah, it's going to be, everybody in the store is going to see it, and it can look good. Those are my comments. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
On 2011-23A, variation Title 19, would you read the, I lost the word.
On the variation docket, I have no conditions suggested.
Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I would really recommend that particular item be postponed until staff can fill in some of the particulars on exactly what quantifiable variations are being requested in terms of setbacks, and not just a blanket variation that would allow them to double the size of the building and not have any parking, and it would be okay because they had a blanket variation.
You couldn't do it with that site plan.
The site plan is actually the exhibit referenced in that motion. Every variation ordinance that we have, we do, when the ordinance is written, we always fill it in. In this case, the existing condition description was, in my opinion, adequate. It sounds like you disagree with that, but when we have the ordinance based on a site plan, we do go through each section and list out the sections when we draft the ordinance itself. So it would say not just the site plan and the date of the site plan, but it would say reducing the setback from 10 feet to 0 feet. So we go through each of those variations and spell them out very clearly when we actually write an ordinance, even if it is existing conditions.
I hear you. Been here 25 years, and we've always had the particulars in the documentation of the docket. That's all I'm saying. So let's go ahead with who's ever going to do what. Tell you what, I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
This is
For the variation.
Variation Title
23A.
19. Zoning relating to setbacks and parking.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Please call the roll.
Motion was made by Commissioner Steilen, seconded by Commissioner Burns. Commissioner Steilen?
No.
Commissioner Burns?
Yes.
Commissioner Dorban?
No.
Commissioner Rufato, I vote yes. Commissioner Schaaf?
I'll vote yes.
And Chairman Maloney?
Yes. 211-23B, special use approval for auto parts retail store. Any,
This is the docket that has the conditions on it. Number 1, parking stall at the southwest corner of the east parking lot shall be removed if it conflicts with the door in the general location, adjusting the amount of the variation accordingly. Number 2, the resurfacing of the parking lot due to the location within the floodplain shall be a reconstruction. Number 3, that the sidewalk crossing shall be modified with detectable warnings to meet the current ADA standards. Number 4, that wheel stops shall be added to the eastern parking area. Number 5, that the existing brick on the north elevation may be stained a uniform color if found to be in good condition during construction, or if in poor condition, shall be replaced with the brick matching the sign base. That was the brick that you intend to use on the sign base?
That's correct.
Number 6, the rooftop units shall be screened using the system submitted January 26, 2012, the Invisor by Cityscapes, in a color to match the Castle Rock color proposed for the building or the roof color. Number 7, the Japanese tree lilacs be replaced with an alternate tree from the Village Parkway tree list. Number 8, that the fence is to be a solid board cedar fence with steel posts. Number 9, that the store's 2 on-site delivery vehicles should be parked in the employee parking stalls overnight. Number 10, that the petitioner fill in the radius near the sign by adding to the planting bed and work with staff to add annuals and increase the size of the shrubs. And number 11, that the business place signs informing customers that on-site vehicle maintenance will be prohibited.
Nothing on limiting the delivery hours?
The letter with the delivery hours in it is listed as an exhibit in the motion currently. So all of the, if there were additional restrictions beyond that, a new condition could be added, but the letter itself is part of the motion.
Do we hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Please call the roll.
Motion was made by Commissioner Burns, seconded by Commissioner Steilen. Commissioner Burns.
Yes.
Commissioner Steilen.
Yes.
Commissioner Dorban.
Yes?
Commissioner Fado, I vote no. Commissioner Schaaf.
Yes.
And Chairman Maloney.
Yes. SCBA 12-4, appearance approval of wall and freestanding signs. Mr. Jennings, you have any conditions?
There are no conditions, just noting that the motion, which in the staff report had a condition, has been updated to specifically reflect the new detailed sign drawing.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Please call the roll.
Motion was made by Commissioner Burns, seconded by Commissioner Schaaf. Commissioner Burns.
Yes.
Commissioner Schaaf.
Yes.
Commissioner Dorban.
Yes?
Commissioner Fado, I vote no. Commissioner Steilen.
Yes.
And Chairman Maloney.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's been 7 years. The AutoZone's been
We
looking at
worked,
places.
we didn't start on the first one, he and I are new. Thank you.
Welcome to Wheeling, I hope.
Thank you.
You have some papers to
I
sign.
need a quick clarification on the SCBA docket. I have made by Commissioner Burns, seconded by Commissioner Schaaf.
Yes.
SCBA 12-4, yes. And I was the only no vote.
Okay, thank you. And do we have a motion to close?
We have a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion made, seconded.
Just had a head cold and
Hello?
I'm still plugged up.
I made,
Do we have a second?
Yes.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion, the public hearing is closed.
Unbelievable. Another piece of garbage going on.
I may need to reprint that, the special use. It looks like it went over on the second page. The special use I did print a second round of that. The special use is, I wanted to get it all on one page.
I totally understand. I do.
I don't even know if I'm talking loud or soft.
I know. That's, yeah. It's,
Huh? What?
hope yours goes away faster than mine.
That's him.
I've had this since the end of December. But I'm beginning to think it's an allergy.
It's one at a time so we don't get confused, you know, we are older.
That's his.
Because it happens every
See?
year.
We do get confused.
Exactly the same thing.
I think your allergy is more.
Better say.
You're allergic to that.
Trailer?
You're this way.
But I didn't get it till about a month after the trips.
Delayed. Delayed.
But it's so frustrating. Oh, my goodness.
Okay, continuing on, other business. Start with Commissioner Schaaf.
Smell taste.
I have nothing, thank you.
Commissioner Stylen.
Why, of course, I have a lot of things.
Oh, that's right, you've been gone for a couple of weeks.
I'll pass this down, but I would really like to discuss the PC policy for incomplete and/or late arriving documentation on PC docket material. I believe that our current PC policy says that all information should be into staff 2 weeks beforehand so that they have a time to look at it. They can prepare the packet for us and get it out to us in sufficient time for us to have a look at it. Lately, I think, and I've asked to discuss this topic a number of times in the past, but, you know, it's amazing to me that late yesterday evening, I got another packet of material for advanced auto parts that appeared to have a site plan in it, and wondering, none of you guys seemed to even notice that it was in the documentation. Did you guys look at it? Do you look at the documentation that you get? The other item that I'd just like to say that for this evening's item discussion for docket 2011-19, the Fresh Farms special use, or excuse me, Fresh Farms variation for signs, the numerous items for variation listed in the docket are not the variations that we're supposed to discuss for signs. If you take a look at chapter 21.08, it clearly states 4 separate reasons for that conditions must be met in order to prove a sign, one of which matches the documentation that was given in the docket, but the others really don't. And I'd suggest that even for that docket, because the variation discussion items didn't match the variation items that are supposed to be there, that, am I the only guy that looks for this stuff? You know, do you guys, you know, try to look and see what's going on? I feel guilty being out here complaining and talking about things all the time. And yet, you know, I'm trying to point out provisions of the laws and the ordinances, but apparently, I don't know. I don't know if you care or not, but, I would like to have a discussion on having time for staff to do a good job and look at plans. I'd be willing to bet you that, the plans came from AutoZone as part of a sign package. They knew that they had to get them out to us real quick because it was 24 hours before the meeting, and they just sent it out, didn't have time to critique it or really look at it, And I think had we enforced our policy, that maybe things would have been a little bit cleaner. Don't know. But that's my comment. Thank you very much for letting me be on a soapbox, and I'll try to listen to whatever anybody else says.
On the 2-week in advance, I've asked Mr. Jennings to take a look at that. And personally, it'd be something we all have to agree on, but personally, I'd rather see the 2 weeks substituted with something like, and now I lost the wording, but within a reasonable time. That when you put something on like that and someone turns something in a day later or something, it can cause us some problems. But it'd be something that we would look at. Commissioner Dorband?
I have a couple things. I guess I'd like to kind of comment on Terry's observation of not having more time. And my concern is more of one that I would not want to see us getting these late things, because now we go ahead and approve them, which is fine, and most of them are, pretty reasonable. But I don't want somebody to think we are giving preferential treatment to one petitioner over another, and have it look like favoritism. And then another one comes before us and we send them away. I think it sets a dangerous precedent. That's my only comment on that. As far, the other question I have we heard anything about helping out somehow, some way with Rise and Dine with their parking problems and Fresh Farms and that? Have we heard anything that's positive? I mean, those people are suffering over there, I know that.
Thus far, we as I reported at the last meeting, the village staff did receive a request to take a look at that area, so that's still underway.
Okay. And the last thing is, at the last meeting, I talked about the advertising vehicle that is at the Currency Exchange in Lexington. Has that been looked into?
Yes. They will be receiving a notice of violation.
Okay, thank you. That's all thank you.
Commissioner Rufano?
To Commissioner Steilen's comments, I interpreted even the stuff last night was just like the Stasek stuff is just a correction, and the advanced auto, I didn't interpret it as you did. So, and again, that's a matter of interpretation. Now, as far as looking at the code, I look at the code when there is a variation on a sign to make sure that it is correct, probably not to the degree that you do. I probably look at more of the variation, the standards for the variations, and I read those, or a special use, I read those and analyze those. Now, in the case of Fresh Farms, it's how you interpret, like the one, number 6, how you interpret who, I think it was number 6, how, who incurred the damage. It was the owners that built the Chase Bank and did that to themselves, okay? But if it would have been the actual business owner coming in to ask for a variation instead of the owner of the shopping center, we would have had a different view on it.
Yeah, exactly, except that criteria is not an
but it-
official zoning
Okay, so
criteria
it's-
anyway, so it doesn't apply.
You know, but and again, it's an interpretation, because I interpreted a special use vastly different than everybody else on this board on the last petition. So it's a matter of interpretation on those things. And let's be honest, some of those standards for variation are pretty gray, and they're not, because we can interpret them differently. So do I look at the code to make sure that the sign is in compliance all the time? Probably not. But I do read the variations to how I would interpret them.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, I was very critical of the fact that it was a problem that the guy created himself.
Yeah.
But that is not one of our official criteria to question a variation for a sign on. So I spent a lot of time reacting to the docket and not to what we're supposed to critique on. That's all I'm saying. I mean, I think we need to.
Fair, it's fair. Okay. And then my last thing, Andrew, did you get a chance to look at Creekside?
Yes. One of the signs appears to be broken. That's the reason that it's not
Where are we
on.
talking about?
Creekside.
Oh,
It's the individual signs, the switches are in the units. So our property maintenance inspector is going sign by sign. So far, the report back on at least one of them was that the sign, or half the sign, doesn't work. And they've gotten estimates. It's a big expense. They're trying to figure out how to fix it. So I don't think know why each individual sign yet is not on, but at least one we've gotten a report back on.
Okay. If you can keep me up to date on that. That's all I had.
Thank you. Commissioner Burns.
Thank you. Commissioner Stylen, to answer your question, do I care? Yes, sir, I care. I wouldn't be here if I didn't care. I think the same applies to you and every commissioner on this board. And to echo Commissioner Rafato, it's a matter of interpretation. You and I don't always agree on interpretation of the code and who deserves a sign variation. So that's my comment, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
However, when it's documented in our packet as 5 or 6 or 7 items and petitioners answer those items and they're not even the items that we're supposed to consider, doesn't that bother you a little bit?
No, nothing, it did not bother me. You did raise some good points on the petitioner's answers to some of those questions. There was, I think, mistakes made by the petitioner, but that didn't mean that I didn't think that they deserved the increase in size to their sign, and that's why I voted the way I did, and of course you had your reasons for voting the way you did.
I have one more question or comment, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Okay. Andrew, are we going to be reviewing the comp plan again? I mean, some of us were here for the original, and I think maybe a couple people were here when we kind of talked about it again, but now we have another whole complement of people here. Are we going to be reviewing it again?
Yeah, the individual sections of the plan, the sub-area plans, is something that the Plan Commission had started to look at. We opened up discussions on 2 of them. One of them became the subject of a subcommittee study. One of them turned into a update to the comp plan, the town center update. So there are, we do plan, I think, on going back to the other sub areas. We can bring those back. We had a priority of which one would be next. We can bring that back and see if that's still the next priority one.
I just think that at this point, we probably, to help people that weren't here better understand where, at that point, when we put it together, where we thought we were going and what may have changed since then.
I think it's only, you two were the original, yeah, and then I was on some of the updates.
Right.
I don't think anybody else has seen.
We started it
Right.
a year ago. We started on one section, then we got on to the town center, then Jim's got the subcommittee working on the southeast TIF area, but we're waiting now for a consultant to be contracted, and then we'll start that one again. Terry, when do you think you'll have your report?
I think maybe we can discuss
we
when
think we're ready,
we
but-
have time to review.
Okay.
Right.
Mr. Antor, do you have anything you want to throw in here? Mr. Jennings?
Nothing in particular. I mean, our applications should be consistent with our code. We can certainly take a look, having just had this brought up, that our application may not match the code. We can take a look and ensure that it does. Sure. As to the, did we pass on information? Yeah, it came from the sign company. As Commissioner Raffato pointed out, I think our interpretation of it was we had expected that a sign dimension drawing was coming in. We wrote that in the staff report. The sign dimension drawing came in. We had questions about it, sent it back to the petitioner with those questions. They resolved those questions to our satisfaction. So the main purpose of that, and this I think was probably the mistake, is that instead of a one-page drawing, we gave you all the drawings that they gave us. They're not mentioned in the motion, but the one-page sign dimension probably should have been the only thing you got instead of the other 6 pages.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
What are we motioning for?
We're motioning to get out of here.
Okay. You got a second, too.
Do we have a second?
Yeah, Mr.
We
Burns.
have motion made and seconded. All those in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Opposed? We're out.